You're welcome to today's class. This is GST 307. Okay, you're welcome. Last week we started the class, and I want to also believe our other lectures have been going on very well, and we have been doing our assignments. Let me just quickly address something before we commence the class for today. Some of you have been sending your assignments via WhatsApp. Let me state very clearly that if you submit your assignment via WhatsApp, it will not be attended to. Please try as much as possible to listen very attentively to get the exact emails that have been posted to you, okay, so that you do not at the end of the day say you submitted and it was not attended to. Now, this is English and communication skills, and last week we started the class by talking about the importance of this course, after which we went to talk about how to self-introduce yourself. We talked about introducing oneself in an educational setting, and also introducing oneself within the career space. Okay, we looked at that. I think I gave us an assignment on that. Write out an introduction of how to introduce yourself with both regards. Okay, after which we proceeded to look at etiquettes in English language. We looked at greeting etiquettes. We considered other aspects, okay, aside greeting. All right, we looked at all of that last week, how to introduce, how to congratulate, compliment. We also looked at how to express gratitude. We looked at how to apologize, how to ask and give directions, to some persons who are trying to find their way to some place. And I want to believe we're able to take notes. This evening, we are going to move much faster because we still have a lot to cover and we have very limited time, not just for today, but I mean throughout the course. And so we're going to start with letter writing, and I think I also gave us an assignment on that. Basically, today the use of letters have largely reduced because of the advent of computer and IT and technology and the rest of that. Back in the days, in the 90s and early 2000s, what was mostly prevalent was letter writing. So if you wanted to, communicate to somebody, you either had to go to a phone booth, which of course possibly many of us are not even aware of. You always maybe see it in movies and all of that, and you could write a letter. Back in schools, we wrote a lot of letters home. Post offices were very, very efficient and effective in delivering letters, but that has largely reduced today. But however, letter writing is still important and valid. And the challenge with IT and technology is that when people, write on their phones, on their gadgets, students have gotten so much used to writing short forms, and I mentioned that in our last class. And so when a student writes an essay, writes a letter, you see a lot of short forms, a lot of spelling errors and all of that, because of the culture and attitude of seeing that we put pen to book has largely reduced. So you never allow the use of IT and technology to diminish or to reduce the quality of your oral and written language. As against that, in fact, it is supposed to improve. Okay, so we have two major types of letters. We have formal letters and informal letters. Okay, so I'll start with the formal, which is informal letters. Informal letters, and informal letters majorly has 6 components in it. Now, and also the informal letters, it is a letter that is written to an acquaintance, a family member, a loved one who you have a kind of internal relationship with, as against formal letters that has nothing to do with a kind of special relationship. So we call informal letters personal letters because you write it to parents, friends, relatives, and all those that fall under this category. Okay, so we said it has 6 major components. The first component, being the heading or the return address, that is you, the sender, your address, who is writing the letter. It usually comes at the top left corner of the letter, which you can see written here where my mouse or cursor is pointing to. Okay, then you can see there's the heading, then the salutation, dear sir, dear ma, you greet. Okay, then you have your body of the letter, the reason why you are writing that letter. Then we have subscription and signature. Your subscription has to do with what you want to use to be the final word that you use in ending letter. Is it yours lovingly, yours affectionately, and all of that? Okay, so there are languages you use when you are writing an informal letter, and there is that you use when you are writing a formal letter. Okay, so then you write your signature and your name and your superscription, which is of course the receiver's address. But now your superscription comes outside the letter, not within. Okay, so you're writing, and you note that it's a letter, so on your envelope the address writing to so and so person, what that, so the person you are writing the letter to is the person that is referred to as, that's what is referred to as the superscription. Okay, so here is a very quick example. A letter to a friend asking him to spend a week holiday with you. You can see the address, as we said. You can see my mouse. You can see the mouse pointing. Okay. You can also see my dear Chris. It's an informal letter. Then you write, this is the body of the letter, which later on when we get our materials we can go through. For want of time, we will not be able to wait for us to look through in detail. Then of course yours lovingly and all of that. Now this is, you can see the superscript here. You can see the superscript where my mouse is pointing. This is what you write on the letter, on the envelope rather. Okay, so that is that for informal letters. Okay, then for formal letters, is simply a letter that is written to an official letter that is written to one that you do not have any special relationship with. And one of those that we're going to consider is called a memo. A memo. Okay, memo writing. Now, a memorandum, or for short, usually commonly called memo, is a means of conveying information within an organization. Okay, so you have an entity or a school, an organization, a firm, excuse me, a business, and you are trying to, you want to pass information around without necessarily sending emails, calling everyone, or is a meeting that everyone doesn't have to be in attendance. Okay, we call that official document a letter. So I mean a memo, I beg your pardon. A memo is written, sorry please. A memo is written in a simple matter of fact of language. It has direct appeal, and it is written in an unemotional tone. Unemotional because you're dealing with a formal environment, you're dealing with staff, you're dealing with employees, and it doesn't have emotional tones attached to it. So how do we use, and for what purposes do we use memo writing? Okay, the first is when you want to issue to a person or a group of people the act of what we call commission or omission. Commission and omission has to do with responsibilities. When you are giving people responsibilities to carry out, it is called a commission, and an omission is when they have not carried out their responsibility. And secondly, to fix what they are supposed to do, okay, or they have gone wrong, and you want to issue, a circular or more of an information regarding what they are supposed to do, you can also do that, and also to convey information to the worker. So it's actually derived from the Latin word memorandum, okay, which means something to be remembered, but for short it is always called a memo. So let's look at components that come in a memo. All right, first of all, there's the header, the opening header, which consists of the name of the receiver, of the department, the name of the sender, the date, and the reference number. Now, official documents within work environment are supposed to have reference numbers in case in the near future, a year later, maybe there's a challenge that came, maybe with the union or something, and you cannot refer back. Okay, in the memo that was written dated 12th September 2019, this was what was said. After that, we followed up with a second memo that was dated 9th of December. So for official purposes, dates are very important. If you do not date your document, and if they do not have reference number, they do not make it very official enough. Okay, so these are important ingredients in your memorandum. Then you have a purpose, does must have a clear subject why you are writing. Okay, so is it a vital, is it an information? For what reason are you conveying that message that you want to pass on to your staff? Okay, then brief discussion of the background, the subject matter, then action. There has to be what you want your staff to do. So you have written, maybe there are complaints of staff that are always coming late to work, and you are writing to address that issue. There has to be a follow up that henceforth staff that come to work late will be penalized, or will have to pay a fine. So there has to be an action that is backed up in your memorandum that your staff can see and say, okay, this is what we are meant to do. Okay, then summary, just like more of a round up of the message that you have given. Okay, now in case when you're using a computer, you can have a CC and BCC, which has to do with to whom the memo is meant. Okay, that's it. If you do not want the memo to go around to everybody, in case you're using um, um, in case you are using a computer, you do not want the memo to go around, you only want it to go to specific people, then you can use a CC or BCC, which is clearly stated on your computer. So this is just an example of a memo. You can see one, but just have written just to give us a pictorial example. Let me also put up one on the screen. I believe you can see this also. You can see one that I just put up right now. You can see the date, you can see to whom, you can see the CC, you can see from whom, then the title of the reference number, and the priority of it, which is urgent, then the memo itself to be passed to to inter-office memo. You can see that is meant for those within that particular office. Okay, so let's quickly move on to what is called a resume. A resume. I am moving very fast because the course is quite large and we just have about 4 contacts, and today is the second contact, so we just have to move very fast. And I want to believe we are also jotting, we are writing as the class is on. At the end of the next the third class, I'll give us one more assignment in addition to the first one I gave us last week. Okay, so designing a resume. Now, a resume is a very, very important document, and sometimes people usually confuse them, or rather mix them up. They cannot tell the difference between a resume and a curriculum vitae, commonly called a CV. Okay, you cannot tell the difference. You cannot tell them apart, and so sometimes people use them interchangeably. Sometimes somebody is saying a resume, at another instance is saying a CV. What exactly is the difference between a resume and a CV? Generally, resumes are mostly used in the United States, whereby CV is mostly preferred in European countries, but there is still a difference between them. Resume is mostly a 2 or at most 3-page document that is used by those that we call those that are still at the entry level stage in their career, those that have not had a lot of experience, those that have not gathered a lot of working experiences over the years. And because of that, when they prepare their documents, their resume, they do not have so much to offer, as it were. But if you look at a curriculum vitae, it's mostly used by those that have gathered a lot of experience over the years. So you could have a CV that is running to even 10 pages, and you could because the person has gathered, imagine somebody who has worked for 30 years and is to be given a political appointment, probably as a special advisor to the president on maybe media and publicity, and he has worked over 30 years in different fields and endeavors. Of course, you know that there is no way you can practically compress 30 years experience into 3 pages. So we call that a CV. So you see, we call that a CV. Now, what is a CV/resume used for? They are mostly marketing documents that tell about a prospective employee. So we said the main purpose is to sell yourself, to find out what kind of candidate it is, to find out whether they are qualified, whether they have experience, the talents to carry out their work, that or the reason why they are being employed, and also to do what is called a SWOT analysis. SWOT, management students, I believe every one of us know what a SWOT analysis is. It stands for strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threat analysis. So in your resume, you're able to outline your skills, your abilities, what you can do, and you're able to use that to sell yourself better. So your resume should in NS be able to speak for you. It should be able to speak for you. Okay, so let's look at some of the contents of a resume as we proceed. I want us to go very fast. The above four items of information, okay, form your nuts and bolts. In other words, they should are key components of your resume. Who are you? What have you done so far? Who are you has to do with your education, your experience, your skills. What have you done so far? Your accomplishment. What can you do for us? In other words, what do you have to offer? What should we employ you to do? Then what are your future plans? What are your prospects, okay, in working in this place? Okay, so designing and formatting your resume. Here are very important tips. Keep your font size to not less than 12. Okay, now the resume, I mean the sample here says 10 to 12, but make it 12. Your resume, your CV should not be less than 12 font size. Use very clean paper and very good font styles like Times New Roman, Arial, Helvetica. You can use Georgia, you can use Cambria. These are beautiful fonts. Use non-decorative typefaces. Your CV is an official document, and it is not a graphic design work. We see a lot of students trying to design their resume to impress their prospective employer. It is of no use. Keep it very official. All right. Then do not use graphics, shading, vertical, horizontal. All those things are not necessary. Do not fold your resume. Use the appropriate mail. Uh, your curriculum vitae or CV is, for CV is for experienced candidates. Okay, so it can be formatted to as many pages as possible. Use action words when preparing your CV. Use action words, experience. Then it's not proper to be putting numbers, number one, number two, number three, as many students commonly do or graduates. So you don't use numbers. You mostly use bullets or the dot type of bullet style. It's then you read your CV over and over again. Print it properly. Do not photocopy, and make sure there are no errors. Okay, so very important to write now. So what information and content should be on your resume? First of all, you should have your name, your address, and your telephone number that is reliable, that is reachable, and address that is traceable. Okay, so you can see an example here: Sanjay Amoraj, 42, Ganges Department, and High Road Channel. So, and his mobile contact and official email address. Official email address. You're called a career objective, or sometimes called a professional objective, which is mostly a 2 to 3 sentence of summary, 2 to 3 line summary of what you hope to accomplish within that career space. So here's an example: seeking a challenging position with opportunities for career advancement and learning, or to have a long career in that field, gain further experience, and attain the goal of the organization. Okay, aiming at mutual growth. In other words, the organization will benefit from you, and you will also benefit from the organization. Okay, the third point that should come in your CV is your education. Yes, your education, starting from, we said you do it in reverse chronology. You do it in reverse chronology. Okay, and what do you mean by reverse chronology? You start from the latest. You start from the latest degree. If you have an MSc, a PGD, a HND, or the latest degree you have is what you start with. You can give your qualifications, PG engineering, academic. If you graduate with a strong result, you can also include that. So you start from the latest academic achievement. Okay, so you can see an example. For example, so you put your professional qualification and academic qualification as well. You can see the example. Let me move on. Then technical skills, computer, good knowledge of internet and security, e-commerce, and all of that. Do you have extracurricular activities that could be beneficial to the organization? All right, then you include that as well. Then your skill summary, here you have mentioned your skills such as positive problem solving, attitude, and you never lie on your English. I mean, on your CV or resume, never lie. Never try to portray what you do not have in an attempt to impress your prospective employee, or yes, your prospective employer. I beg your pardon. Point seven, work experience, career, and employment history. Here you must give a details of the place you have worked, and the point, your employment history is very, very important because it tells all the places you have worked, and employers put a lot of priority on your history, especially your career history, because we want to know how much you know already, the experience you have gathered, and what you can bring to the table. So you'll be checking the title of your position, and you should carry this information. You should carry this information when you're writing about your your work experience, the title of the position that was held, the name of the organization, the location, the town, the state, the country, the dates of employment, and a brief description of the work and responsibility that you did. Okay, you may also add your leadership experience that you have had and you have worked with over the years. So you can see, let me just pick one of the examples. KH, for example, KH Technical Supporting Incorporation, sales manager, and some of the responsibilities that he did. My mouse is pointing there. You can see he wrote out some of this. Just 3-4 responsibilities are enough to give us a summary of knowing what you have done. Okay, then your personal profile, okay, now please, this is very important. Your details like your name, your father's name, your date of birth, contact number, email, passport, hobbies, etc. should be given where you have your personal information or profile. Okay, give those. Then lastly, your references. Your reference can be furnished if needed. References should be made available on request. It is the usual practice to cite 3 persons, 2 to certify your professional skills, managerial abilities, and academic record, and the third one to support your character and family background. Fresh candidates can cite their professors, research, and all of that. Those that led them in school. The senior persons with several years experience should make their superiors, their colleagues, and even persons who worked with them as their referees. So references should be given with prior consent. In other words, let those that you're using as your referees be aware that you're using them as your referees. Okay, now for the last part, which is called the declaration, it is sometimes done and it is sometimes not done. It is not too compulsory. Some school of thought believe you should do that at the end, make a declaration just to say that all the information you have provided is not false. But you don't need to do that, since already you know that you're going to be providing the right information. You're not going to be using your curriculum vitae or your resume, as it were, to tell lies. Okay, so that is about resumes. Let's quickly move on to the next chapter, technology, information technology. I want to believe we are following and you can hear me very, very clearly. Okay, technology, commonly abbreviated IT. Now, information technology is the use of computers, of any computer, storage, networking, and any other physical device or an infrastructure and process to create, process, store, secure, and exchange all forms of electronic data. Typically, it is used in the context of enterprise operations as opposed to personal or entertainment technology. The commercial use of IT encompasses both computer technology and telephony. The term information technology was coined by the Harvard Business Review in order to make a distinction between purpose-built machines designed to perform a limited scope of functions, and general purpose computing machines that could be programs for various tasks. As the IT industry evolved from the mid 20th century, computing capability advanced, excuse me, while device cost and energy consumption fell lower. A cycle that continues today with new technologies emerge. So we're just giving a brief introduction to information technology. And a very practical example is what we are having today. Okay, the whole global pandemic of corona has, you know, brought about a challenge to the whole universe, and so learning is already changing and has changed. And so I am here, and we are at our various homes, but are still able to receive our classes and lectures irrespective of the challenge. This is because of the advent of information technology and IT in the 21st century. Okay, and I think that's a very good one. Now, IT includes several layers of physical equipment. We're going to talk about IT software and hardware. Okay, so hardware has to do with physical components. Okay, virtualization and management, automation tools, operating system, and application softwares are used to perform essential functions. So we are saying that uh, software and hardware come and work hand in hand in order for us to be able to, have IT or information technology. So your hardware, for instance, is like your phone device that you're using to receive this lecture, or your laptop or your desktop. And of course, softwares are the programs that enable, these other activities to run. So we have what is called peripheral devices or attachments that we use to some of all these other gadgets as well, like an earpiece, a speaker, and all of that. Okay, so business applications include databases like SQL Server interaction systems such as real-time order entry, emails, servers like Exchange, web servers like Apache, customer relationship management, and enterprise resource, and many other applications, both business and professional applications, HR applications, customer care applications, project management applications, customer, staff management applications. All these effectively help us to manage you know the respective uses for which they were intended, and also by extension knowing fully well that these things help us to be more effective in our day-to-day activities and transaction. Okay, so how do we IT education and job functions? A team of administrators and other technical staffers deploy and manage the company's IT infrastructure and asset, because most companies and organizations have IT departments. Okay, I have somebody who was recently employed as a social media strategist in a particular organization in the city of Abuja. So IT teams depend on a wide range of specialized information and technological skills, okay, in use of some of these applications. Okay, so you could contract out your responsibilities in terms of IT to third-party vendors that can help manage your activity. So let's look at some common IT careers. Chief Information Officer. This is the person that is responsible for IT and computer systems that support the enterprise goals. We have Chief Technology Officer, who sets up all the technological goals and policies within the organization. So we want to set up something, a new system of carrying out something, activities, reaching out, having uh, teleconferencing, having audio conferences. We can have our chief technological officer manage that for us. We have the IT director, who is responsible for the function of the business technology. Okay, they are also called IT managers. Then we have system administrators. They are the ones that manage the programs. Okay, they are the ones that are in charge of configurations. They are in charge of troubleshooting. Okay, you have challenges, you call the system administrator. Okay, they control and they regulate how activities run. So if you have challenges, they are the ones that are managing the internet activities. So you have problem with your network, you have problem, you'll be directed to the system administrator, who can check where the errors or the challenges are and effect the changes. Okay, can tell you the best network systems to use for having the best form of internet and the rest of that. So do not forget these various technologies. You have your chief information officer. Okay, you have your technological officer, you have your IT director, and you have your systems administrator. Okay, so quickly, and of course, you remember this course is ICT, of course, and office management. So computer networks and internet networking computer systems or devices. Okay, so I think I just lost my audio. Okay, my audio is back. You can hear me. All right, it's back. So a computer network is any set of computers or devices connected to each other with the ability to exchange data. So here is, you can see the you can see an example of a network. You can see the computer. You can see the desktop, the scanner. You can see your system units. My mouse are pointing to these devices, and you can see the router that is providing the network and service. So this is what is connecting these whole gadgets and devices together. It's a network. They work hand in hand, such that if I disconnect one of these, maybe I disconnect the router or the service, that I'm using to provide. I'm using a network right now, and if once I disconnect the data, then there's no more network. So all of us, even having this class, we are all connected right now by a network that has linked all of us, such that you are all in different places and you can hear me. This is basically what is called a network, and that's why when you are making a call and you cannot hear clearly, you're like, oh, the network is poor, you are breaking, I cannot hear you clearly. And sometimes you want to go to an area where the reception is stronger. We call that a network. So let's look at several network services. You can say an email service, file service, which is a file service and allows you to share files, allows you to share spaces, share videos, and other documents from one person to another. Then you have printers. Printing service allows you to print out, work that has been done. Then it allows you to surf the web, go online, check for very valuable and vital information. Okay, and you can also filter out undesired sites on internet. You can program your system not to be able to access certain kinds of websites. Okay, so that is, you can filter out certain undesired sites on the internet. You can allow somebody to log on to a network. So you could have a network and you can restrict it to several few users, and so we can password a network and only allow 10 people to have access to it because they have access to the password. Okay, so I'm rushing because of time. Let's look at the various types of networks we have. We have 4 minutes more. We have what we call LAN, we have WAN, we have MAN, we have, those are different networks that we have. Now, LAN stands for local area network. Local area network, which is usually a small network and is constrained, is just within a small geography of an area, just like you are using it in an office, everybody's connected. You're using it in a home for the family use, the father and the children. You're using it within schools. The radius of use is very little and it's just for a limited number of people. Then you could also have wider area network, okay, which is called WAN. First is local area network, then we have wide area network, which is usually a larger network that covers higher geographical bound spaces. Okay, so they are used to connect LANs and other type of network together so that users and computers in one location can communicate with users and computers in what other area. So you connect your LAN to your WAN so that you can have wider coverage of the system. Okay, so a metropolitan area network is a network that connects two or more local area networks or campus area networks together, but does not exceed beyond the boundaries of the immediate town or the metropolitan area. So multiple routers, switches, hubs are connected to create, a metropolitan area network. Okay, then we have the internet network. We have internet work. Okay, two or more networks or network segments connected using devices such as routers. Any interconnection among or between public, private, or commercial, industrial, or governmental networks may also be defined as what? An internetwork. So you could have an internetwork, and as the name sounds, you bring maybe, let me give an example. You want to create a synergy, or more like a connection between maybe two separate entities together, or two or separate networks. You can create that possibility, which is called an internetwork. Okay, and that internetwork will now create an interaction between two separate networks. Okay, so that there can be interaction. Government networks can be an example. Okay, so any interconnection among two or between public, private, commercial, industrial, governmental networks may be defined as an internetwork. So here are the three variables of internetwork. We could have an intranetwork, we could have an extra network, and we could have an internet network. Okay, so intranets and extranet may or may not have connections to the internet. If connected to the internet, the intranet or extranet is normally protected from being accessed by what? Outsiders, or those that are not permitted to use that internet. Okay, and so it's either passworded, or access to it is only granted to those that we call authorized users. So an internet is a set of interconnected networks using the internet protocol based tools such as web browsers, and they are used under the control of administrative entity. Now the administrative entity closes the internet the internet to the rest of the world, and allows only specific users. So it is limited within those that have been given authorization to use it. Now my time is up, and I'm not supposed to go beyond that. So as you go, I'm not going to give you any assignment that you are to submit, but go and do further reading on intranet, extranet, and the internet, so that the next time we have our class, we'll start from the World Wide Web, commonly called WWW. So thank you for being a part of today's class. And as I said, hello. So thank you for being part of today's class. And as I said in the previous class we had, that if I give any assignment, and for others that are also given an assignment, make sure you submit your assignment as an attachment. Do not go to the message on the computer, your space, and type. For those that are using phones, make sure you download WPS Office, or one of the applications that can help you to type. Then you send your assignment as an attachment. For those that are sending